the girl who never gave up. The alarm rang sharply at 5:30 a.m. Aisha opened her eyes before it rang a second time. She had trained herself to wake up quickly because every minute mattered. There was no one else to earn money for the family. She lived in a small, aging apartment on the outskirts of the city with her mother, Shabana, and her 12-year-old brother, Hamza. Their father had died 3 years earlier in a construction accident. Since then, life had become a daily battle. Every morning followed the same routine. Aisha prepared breakfast. She ironed Hamza's school uniform. She helped her mother take medicine. Only after making sure everyone else was ready did she get herself prepared for work. Her salary wasn't impressive, but it paid the rent, bought groceries, and kept Hamza in school. That was enough for her. She believed that one day life would become easier. She just had to keep moving. Outside, the streets slowly came alive. Street vendors arranged their carts. Children waited for school buses. Office workers rushed toward the metro station. Aisha walked through the crowd, carrying an old black handbag and a lunchbox her mother had packed. Her phone vibrated. "Mother, don't skip lunch today." Aisha smiled. "I won't, Ammi." She knew she probably would. Deadlines at work rarely left time for eating. The towering glass building of Sterling Financial Solutions stood proudly in the city's business district. It was one of the largest finance companies in the region. Employees admired Aisha. She was hardworking, honest, quiet. She never complained. Even when others left early, she stayed late to finish reports. Her manager, Mr. Daniel Carter, trusted her more than most senior employees. "You have a bright future here," he often said. Aisha would simply smile. She wasn't chasing promotions. She was chasing survival. During lunch break, her best friend Sarah sat beside her. "You work too much," Sarah laughed. "And you talk too much." Both girls laughed together. Sarah suddenly became serious. "You leave the office alone every night." "I'm used to it." "That doesn't mean it's safe." "I'll be fine." Sarah wasn't convinced. "You should at least take a taxi. They're expensive. Your safety is more important." Aisha changed the subject. Money always won the argument. Meanwhile, across the city, inside a luxurious penthouse, four young men laughed loudly around a poker table. Expensive watches, luxury cars, unlimited money. They believed the city belonged to them. Their names were Ryan Malik, the son of a powerful businessman. Arrogant, spoiled, used to getting everything he wanted. Victor Khan, a nightclub owner with connections everywhere. Cold, manipulative, dangerous. Ethan Roy, a politician's son. He believed laws existed only for ordinary people. And finally, Zaid Rahman, the quietest among them, which made him the most dangerous. He rarely spoke, but whenever he did, the others listened. Ryan threw his cards onto the table. "I'm bored," Victor grinned. "So, I want some excitement." Saeed slowly looked out the window. A cruel smile appeared on his face. There will be, none of them knew, that very soon, their lives were about to collide with a girl who refused to surrender. That evening, dark clouds covered the sky. Heavy rain began to fall. Most employees rushed home before the storm became worse. Inside the office, only a few lights remained on. Aisha was still working. Mr. Carter walked past her desk. "You're still here. I just need to finish this report." He checked his watch. "It's nearly 9 p.m. "I know. You should go home." 5 more minutes." He nodded. "Don't stay too late." "I won't." But 5 minutes turned into another hour. When Aisha finally shut down her computer, the office floor was completely empty. The silence felt strange. She picked up her bag, locked her desk, walked toward the elevator. As the elevator doors slowly closed, the lights flickered. For just a second, she felt something was wrong. She couldn't explain why. It was only a feeling. But sometimes, a feeling is the first warning of danger. The night that changed everything. The elevator doors opened into the empty lobby. The receptionist had already gone home. Only the security guard was sitting near the entrance, watching the rain pour outside. "You're leaving late again, Miss Aisha," he said. Aisha smiled politely. "Yes. Good night. Be careful. The weather is getting worse." "I will." She stepped outside. The cold rain hit her face immediately. The streets were almost empty. Most people had already reached home. She opened her umbrella and started walking toward the nearest bus stop, nearly 15 minutes away. Thunder echoed across the sky. The wind grew stronger. She pulled her coat tighter and kept walking. At the same time, a black luxury SUV slowly entered the same road. Inside were Ryan, Victor, Ethan, and Zaid. Loud music filled the car. Ryan glanced through the rain-covered window. There aren't many people out tonight. Victor laughed. Perfect night for a drive. Ethan noticed a woman walking alone under a black umbrella. Look! Ryan turned toward the window. There she is. The SUV slowed down. Zaid remained silent, staring ahead. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Ryan smirked. Let's have some fun. Zaid looked at him without emotion. Don't make unnecessary mistakes. Ryan laughed. When have we ever been caught? The SUV moved forward. Aisha reached the bus stop. There was no one there. She checked the bus schedule. The next bus had been canceled because of a storm. She sighed. I'll have to walk farther and find a taxi. She put her phone back into her bag. Just then, the streetlights flickered. 1, 2, 3. Then darkness. The entire road went black. Only flashes of lightning lit the empty street. Aisha felt uneasy. She looked around. Nothing. Only the sound of rain. Then, headlights appeared in the distance. A black SUV approached slowly. Too slowly. It stopped a few meters away. The windows were dark. No one stepped out. Aisha's instincts told her not to wait. She turned and began walking in the opposite direction. The SUV started moving again. Slowly. Following her. Her heartbeat quickened. She reached into her pocket and unlocked her phone. No signal. The storm had disrupted the network. She walked faster. The vehicle matched her pace. A chill ran down her spine. Inside the SUV, Ryan smiled. She's scared. Victor laughed. She knows we're following her. Ethan leaned forward. Should we leave? Ryan shook his head. Not yet. Only Zaid remained expressionless. He watched Aisha through the rain. Something about her calm determination caught his attention. Aisha suddenly remembered something. 2 streets ahead was a small police checkpoint. If she could reach it, she would be safe. Without looking back, she started walking faster. Then faster. Finally, she ran. The SUV's engine roared. It accelerated, splashing water across the empty road. Aisha could hear the tires behind her. Her breathing became heavier. She clutched her bag tightly and kept running. A bolt of lightning lit up the road. For a split second, she saw the police checkpoint, but it was completely deserted. The officers had apparently left because of the storm. Her heart sank. She was alone. Completely alone. The SUV came to a stop just behind her. The doors slowly opened. 4 figures stepped out into the rain. None of them said a word. Aisha took 1 step backward, then another. Her eyes searched desperately for anyone at all. But the road was empty. Ryan smiled. Don't be afraid. Aisha's fingers tightened around her phone. She knew one thing. If she wanted to survive this night, she would have to fight. She refused to be a victim. The rain fell harder. The empty road disappeared beneath sheets of water. Aisha stood frozen for only a second. For strangers slowly walked toward her. Ryan smiled confidently. Relax, we just want to talk. Aisha's voice was steady. Stay where you are. Victor laughed. She's brave. Ethan glanced around the deserted street. No one is coming. Only Zaid remained silent, watching every move she made. Aisha's heart pounded against her chest, but she refused to show fear. She took another step back. I said, don't come any closer. Ryan ignored her warning. He moved forward. Aisha quickly reached into her handbag and pulled out a small bottle of pepper spray. She always carried it because her mother had insisted. Ryan smirked. What are you going to do with that? He reached for her. Without hesitation, PSSHHH. A stream of pepper spray hit Ryan directly in the eyes. He screamed in pain. My eyes! Victor and Ethan rushed toward her. Aisha didn't wait. She turned and ran. The narrow streets were slippery. Rainwater splashed beneath her feet. She could hear angry voices behind her. Catch her! Don't let her escape! She ran as fast as she could, her lungs burning with every breath. She took a sharp turn into a small alley. For a moment, the voices disappeared. She leaned against a wall, trying to catch her breath. Maybe she had escaped. Then, a shadow appeared at the end of the alley. Saeed. Unlike the others, he hadn't shouted or panicked. He had calmly guessed where she would run. Their eyes met. For a brief second, neither of them moved. Then Saeed stepped forward. Aisha looked around desperately. The alley had only one exit. He was blocking it. "You've got nowhere to go," Saeed said quietly. Aisha didn't answer. Instead, she noticed an old metal trash can beside her. As Saeed came closer, she grabbed it with both hands and shoved it toward him. The heavy can crashed into his legs. He stumbled just enough. That was all she needed. She darted past him and sprinted back onto the main road. Behind her, Ryan, Victor, and Ethan had recovered and were chasing her again. Aisha's legs were growing weak. She had been running for several minutes. Her shoes slipped on the wet pavement. She nearly fell, but caught herself. Then she saw a pair of bright headlights approaching from the opposite direction. A large delivery truck. Summoning all her strength, she ran into the middle of the road, waving both arms. "Help! Please help!" The truck driver slammed on the brakes. The loud screech echoed through the night. Seeing the truck stop, the four men froze. Ryan cursed under his breath. "Let's go." Within seconds, they rushed back to their SUV and sped away before the driver could see their faces clearly. The truck driver jumped out. "Miss! Are you all right?" Aisha collapsed onto the wet road, trembling uncontrollably. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Tears mixed with the rain on her face. For the first time that night, she realized how close she had come to losing everything. The truck driver immediately called the police and an ambulance. As the sound of sirens grew louder in the distance, Aisha looked toward the road where the black SUV had disappeared. Her hands slowly clenched into fists. In a trembling voice, she whispered, "You ran tonight, but one day, I will find every one of you." That was not just a promise. It was the beginning of a revenge that would change all of their lives forever. When justice failed, the flashing red and blue lights of police cars reflected across the rain-soaked streets. An ambulance arrived within minutes. The paramedics wrapped a warm blanket around Aisha's shoulders as she sat silently inside the vehicle. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes remained fixed on the road where the black SUV had disappeared. She hadn't forgotten a single face. The police station. The next morning, Aisha sat across from Detective Michael Harris, a veteran officer known for solving difficult cases. He placed a cup of tea in front of her. "Take your time," he said gently. "Tell me everything." Aisha described every detail she could remember. The black SUV, the four young men, their faces, their voices, their expensive clothes, even the watch Ryan had been wearing. Detective Harris wrote everything down. "Did you recognize any of them?" Aisha hesitated. "I've never seen them before, but I would recognize them if I saw them again." "We'll do everything we can." For the first time since the attack, Aisha felt a small spark of hope. A dangerous truth. Later that afternoon, Detective Harris reviewed traffic camera footage from nearby streets. Most cameras had stopped recording because of the storm, but one camera had captured something. A black SUV. The license plate was blurry, yet partially visible. The police traced the vehicle. When the file appeared on Harris's computer screen, his expression changed. The SUV belonged to a company owned by Malik Industries. Its owner, Ryan Malik's father. Harris leaned back in his chair. This just became complicated. Power over justice. That evening, Harris was called into his superior's office. The police commissioner closed the door. "I've reviewed your report. Then you know who the suspects are." The commissioner sighed. "This investigation ends today." Harris frowned. "What? You heard me. We have evidence." "Not enough. We can question them." "No." Harris couldn't believe what he was hearing. The victim deserves justice. The commissioner looked away. Some families are untouchable. Harris understood. Power, money, political influence. The case wasn't being closed because there was no evidence. It was being buried. The threat. That same night, a black luxury car stopped outside Aisha's apartment building. A man in an expensive suit knocked on her door. When Aisha opened it, he smiled politely. "My name is Richard. I'm here on behalf of some very important people." Aisha's face hardened. I have nothing to say. Richard calmly placed an envelope on the table. Inside, there was a large amount of cash. Accept this. Forget what happened. Withdraw your complaint. Aisha stared at the money, then slowly closed the envelope. She handed it back. Tell them, my dignity is not for sale. Richard's smile disappeared. His voice turned cold. You have a sick mother, a younger brother. It would be unfortunate if something happened to them. Aisha's blood ran cold, but she didn't step back. She pointed toward the door. Get out! Richard looked at her for a long moment. Then he picked up the envelope and walked away. Before leaving, he said one final sentence. You've just made the biggest mistake of your life. The door closed. Aisha locked it. Her mother looked at her with frightened eyes. What do they want? Aisha forced a smile. Nothing, Amy. But deep inside, she knew everything had changed. This wasn't just about 4 criminals anymore. It was about an entire system protecting them. Standing by the window that night, she whispered to herself, if the law won't fight for me, then one day I will fight for myself. Outside, the rain had finally stopped, but the storm in Aisha's life had only just begun. The birth of revenge. 3 weeks passed. The bruises on Aisha's body slowly faded, but the scars inside her heart only grew deeper. Every night, she woke up from the same nightmare. The black SUV, the pouring rain, 4 men laughing. She would open her eyes, breathing heavily, only to realize she was safe in her own room. But the fear never truly left. The case is closed. One morning, Detective Michael Harris arrived at Aisha's apartment. He looked exhausted. He placed a file on the table. I'm sorry. Aisha stared at him. They closed the investigation. Her hands tightened. What do you mean? They said there isn't enough evidence. But you found the vehicle. I know. You found the owner. I know. So why? Harris lowered his head. Because some people are above the law. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Aisha asked, so that's it? Harris looked into her eyes. As a police officer, my hands are tied. He paused. But as a man, I hope you never stop fighting. He stood up and quietly left. Aisha watched the door close. The last bit of hope she had in the justice system disappeared with him. A new decision. That evening, Aisha stood before her father's photograph. She remembered his words from years ago. Strength is not about never falling. It's about standing up every time life knocks you down. A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away. No more tears, she whispered. They took away my peace. But they won't take away my future. That night, Aisha made a decision that would change her life forever. She would not spend the rest of her life hiding. She would become stronger, smarter, patient, and one day, she would expose every one of them. 6 months later, the calendar pages flew by. Aisha resigned from her old job. Everyone thought she had given up. Even the 4 men had forgotten about her. But they had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated her. During those 6 months, Aisha transformed herself. She joined a self-defense academy. Every morning, she trained in boxing, martial arts, and survival techniques. She learned how to stay calm under pressure, how to escape dangerous situations, how to fight when there was no other choice. At night, she studied computers and cybersecurity. She learned how to track digital footprints, how to collect evidence, how to uncover secrets hidden behind expensive suits and powerful names. She also changed her appearance. Her long hair became short. She started wearing glasses. Her style became more professional and confident. Even old friends struggled to recognize her. The frightened girl from that rainy night was gone. A new Aisha had been born. The first clue. One evening, while researching Malik Industries, Aisha noticed something unusual. Several company accounts had transferred millions of dollars to fake businesses. The transactions disappeared within hours. Someone was laundering money. She leaned closer to her laptop. This isn't just about one crime. It's much bigger. As she dug deeper, she found the same names appearing again and again. Ryan Malik, Victor Khan, Ethan Roy, and Saeed Rahman. The 4 men were connected not only by that terrible night, but by a network of corruption, blackmail, and illegal business deals. Aisha smiled for the first time in months. Not because she was happy, because she had finally found their weakness. She closed her laptop and whispered, "You destroyed an innocent girl's life. Now I'll destroy the empire you built on fear. Far away, inside a luxurious penthouse, Ryan raised a glass and laughed with his friends. None of them realized. The woman they thought they had silenced had just declared war. The first move, 6 months, had changed Aisha completely. She was no longer the frightened young woman who had run through the rain, desperately trying to survive. She had become calm, disciplined, patient. Most importantly, she had learned that revenge was not about anger. It was about timing, a new identity. Aisha knew she could never get close to the 4 men using her real name. So she created a new identity, Emily Carter, a confident financial consultant with an impressive resume and experience in corporate auditing. Every certificate, every email, every online profile had been carefully prepared. To the world, Emily Carter was real. To Aisha, she was a weapon, Ryan's weakness. For weeks, Aisha quietly observed Ryan Malik. He loved expensive parties, luxury cars, and attention. But behind the glamorous lifestyle, he had a dangerous secret. He was secretly gambling millions of dollars through illegal underground casinos. Even his father didn't know. If the truth came out, it could destroy both Ryan's reputation and his family's business. Aisha smiled. Everyone has a weakness. I just have to pull the right thread. An invitation. One afternoon, Ryan attended an exclusive charity gala at a 5-star hotel. Business leaders, politicians, celebrities, everyone important was there. Aisha, as Emily Carter, had managed to receive an invitation through one of her professional contacts. She walked into the ballroom wearing a simple but elegant black dress. Her confidence attracted attention. Ryan noticed her almost immediately. I don't think we've met before, he said with a charming smile. Aisha returned a polite smile. I'm Emily Carter, financial consultant. Ryan extended his hand. Ryan Malik. I know who you are, she replied calmly. Ryan laughed. I hope that's a good thing. We'll see. For the first time, the hunter had unknowingly introduced himself to the person hunting him, planting the trap. Over the next few days, Ryan became interested in Emily. He admired her intelligence, her confidence, the fact that she never seemed impressed by his wealth. Exactly as Aisha had planned. She never flirted. She never chased him. She simply allowed him to believe he was in control. Meanwhile, she quietly gained access to information about his businesses. Every meeting, every document, every suspicious financial transaction. She copied everything, without leaving a trace. Someone starts to notice. While Ryan was distracted, another pair of eyes was watching. Saeed Rahman. Unlike his friends, Saeed trusted no one. He had noticed Emily at the gala. There was something familiar about her. He couldn't explain it. Later that evening, he spoke to Victor. Find out who she is. Victor laughed. You think she's dangerous? Saeed didn't smile. I don't believe in coincidences. Victor nodded. I'll have someone investigate. The warning. That night, Aisha returned to her apartment. As she unlocked the door, she noticed something unusual. An envelope had been slipped under it. There was no address, no name. She opened it carefully. Inside was a single photograph. It showed her, walking into the charity gala. On the back, someone had written 5 chilling words. We're watching you, Emily. Aisha's heartbeat slowed, not from fear, but from realization. Her enemies had started asking questions. The game had officially begun. She looked at the photograph, then slowly smiled. Good, she whispered. Now you're finally paying attention. The enemy strikes back. Aisha stared at the photograph for several seconds. The words written on the back echoed in her mind. We're watching you, Emily. Instead of panicking, she carefully placed the photograph into a plastic evidence bag. She didn't touch it again. If someone delivered this, they may have left fingerprints. For the first time since starting her mission, Aisha realized that one mistake could cost her life. Saeed's suspicion. The next morning, Saeed sat in his private office overlooking the city. Victor entered with a file. I looked into Emily Carter. Saeed raised an eyebrow. And everything checks out. University records, employment history, professional licenses. It's all clean. Saeed remained silent. He slowly closed the file. Too clean. Victor frowned. What do you mean? Real people leave behind mistakes. They leave unfinished stories. But Emily Carter is perfect. Victor laughed. You think she's fake? I don't know. But I don't trust perfection. He leaned forward. Keep watching her. A hidden camera. That afternoon, Aisha returned to her apartment after work. As she entered, something felt different. A flower vase on the shelf had moved slightly. She never forgot details. Someone had been inside. Her pulse quickened. Instead of rushing in, she quietly inspected the apartment. Nothing appeared to be stolen, but near the smoke detector on the ceiling, she noticed a tiny blinking light. A hidden camera. Aisha carefully removed it without damaging it. They're trying to learn who I really am. She wrapped the device in aluminum foil, blocking its signal, then placed it inside a metal box. They'll receive nothing. Detective Harris returns. That evening, Detective Michael Harris unexpectedly knocked on her door. I've been trying to reach you. Aisha invited him inside. He noticed the hidden camera on the table. You found it. She nodded. They're getting closer. Harris looked worried. You should stop this. If they discover your identity, they won't hesitate to kill you. Aisha looked him straight in the eyes. They already tried once. I'm not running anymore. High sight. I can't officially help you. He reached into his coat and quietly placed a small flash drive on the table. What's this? Financial records. I wasn't supposed to have them, but I think you'll know what to do. Aisha picked up the drive. This could expose them. Harris nodded. Just be careful. Before leaving, he said quietly, You're not fighting for men anymore. You're fighting everyone protecting them. The first crack. Late that night, Aisha opened the files. Thousands of financial transactions appeared on her screen. Hidden accounts, fake companies, bribes, money laundering. One document caught her attention. A payment worth $10 million had been transferred just 2 days before the attack on her. The recipient's name wasn't listed. Only a code. Project Raven. What is Project Raven? She whispered. As she searched deeper, another file appeared. It had been encrypted. She finally unlocked it after hours of work. Inside, there was a list of names. Some were businessmen. Some were politicians. Some were police officers. And at the very top, Ryan Malik, Victor Khan, Ethan Roy, Zaid Rahman. Aisha's expression turned cold. This was never just about one night. It was part of something much bigger. At that exact moment, her phone vibrated. An unknown number. She answered carefully. A calm male voice spoke only one sentence. If you want the truth about Project Raven, come alone tomorrow night. The call ended. Aisha looked at the dark screen. She knew it could be a trap, but it could also be the key to bringing down the entire organization. She took a deep breath. Tomorrow, everything changes. The secret of Project Raven. Aisha barely slept that night. The anonymous phone call kept replaying in her mind. If you want the truth about Project Raven, come alone tomorrow night. It could be a trap, or it could be the opportunity she had been waiting for. Either way, she knew she had to go. The abandoned warehouse. The following night, at exactly 10 p.m., Aisha arrived at an abandoned warehouse near the city's old shipping docks. The area was silent. Broken streetlights flickered in the distance. Rusted containers stood like giant shadows. She wore a black jacket and carried only a flashlight and a small recorder hidden inside her pocket. She walked carefully into the warehouse. Hello, she called. No answer. Only the sound of dripping water echoed through the building. Then, a voice came from the darkness. You actually came. A man stepped forward. He was around 50 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. My name is Thomas Reed, he said. I used to work for Malik Industries. Aisha didn't lower her guard. Why did you call me? Thomas sighed. Because I know what happened to you. And because I helped cover it up. A guilty conscience. Thomas lowered his head. 4 years, I worked as the company's chief accountant. I believed I was only hiding illegal money. But Project Raven was much worse. Aisha stared at him. What is Project Raven? Thomas looked around to make sure no one else was listening. It isn't just a money laundering operation. It's a criminal network. They use money, blackmail, fake companies, and political connections to control powerful people. And anyone who becomes a threat disappears. Aisha felt a chill run through her body. What about the 4 men? Thomas answered without hesitation. They're not just rich boys. They're being prepared to take over the organization. The hidden evidence. Thomas reached into his coat and pulled out a small encrypted hard drive. Everything is here. Financial records, secret meetings, videos, names. If this reaches the media, Project Raven will collapse. Aisha carefully accepted the drive. This could expose all of them. Thomas nodded. But once they know it's missing, they'll hunt both of us. The betrayal. Suddenly, a bright light filled the warehouse. Car headlights shone through the broken windows. Then another, and another. Several black SUVs surrounded the building. Thomas's face turned pale. They found us. The warehouse doors burst open. Armed men rushed inside. At the center of them, Ryan, Victor, Ethan, and Saeed. Ryan smiled slowly. I told you she'd lead us to the missing evidence. Aisha looked at Thomas. His face was filled with shock. I swear, I didn't tell them. Before anyone could react, bang! A gunshot echoed through the warehouse. Thomas collapsed to the floor, clutching his chest. Aisha gasped. No! Ryan laughed coldly. Loose ends don't live very long. Thomas looked at Aisha with his final strength. He grabbed her hand and whispered, Don't trust everyone. Then his hand fell still. He was dead. A deadly escape. Ryan pointed toward Aisha. Get her! The armed men charged forward. Aisha turned and ran through the maze of old shipping containers. Bullets struck the metal walls around her. She ducked behind a container, her heart pounding. She still had the encrypted hard drive. If they caught her, everything Thomas had died for would be lost. She spotted an emergency exit at the far end of the warehouse. Without looking back, she sprinted toward it. Just as she reached the door, a hand grabbed her shoulder. She spun around, ready to fight. It was Detective Michael Harris. He whispered urgently, Come with me. There's no time to explain. He pulled her into a hidden tunnel beneath the warehouse as the sound of shouting and gunfire echoed above them. Aisha looked back one last time at the burning warehouse. Thomas was gone. The war had become even more personal. And somewhere in the darkness, Saeed watched the tunnel entrance with cold, calculating eyes. For the first time, he was certain of one thing. Emily Carter was not who she claimed to be. The truth revealed. The hidden tunnel was cold, dark, and filled with the smell of damp concrete. Detective Michael Harris pulled Aisha forward. Keep moving, he whispered. Behind them, the sound of footsteps echoed through the warehouse. Ryan's men were searching every corner. After several minutes, they reached an old steel door that opened into an abandoned subway station. Only then did Harris stop. Both of them were breathing heavily. Aisha looked at him. How did you know I was there? Harris took a deep breath. I had Thomas under surveillance. I knew he wanted to expose Project Raven. When he disappeared yesterday, I guessed he'd contact you. Aisha held the encrypted hard drive tightly. He died because he tried to do the right thing. Harris nodded sadly. And now they'll come after you with everything they have. The hidden files. They drove to a secret safe house owned by a retired police officer. The building looked abandoned from the outside, but inside it was filled with old computers and security equipment. Harris connected the hard drive to a secure laptop. The screen displayed a password request. Aisha remembered Thomas's final words. Don't trust everyone. There has to be another clue, she said. She searched through the files and noticed a photo of Thomas standing beside a ship. The ship's name was Ravenstar. She typed, Ravenstar 1978. The screen unlocked. Thousands of files appeared. Videos, bank records, secret contracts, audio recordings. Everything Project Raven had tried to hide. The biggest shock. One video was labeled, Founders Meeting, Private. Harris pressed play. The recording showed a luxurious conference room from nearly 20 years earlier. Several powerful businessmen sat around a table. Among them was Ryan's father, Victor's uncle, Ethan's father. Then another man entered the room. Aisha froze. She recognized him immediately. It was her own father. No, she whispered. That's impossible. Her hands began to shake. My father worked for them. Harris watched silently. The meeting continued. One businessman slid a folder across the table. We're expanding Project Raven. Aisha's father stood up. No, I joined this company to build businesses, not to destroy lives. The room fell silent. Ryan's father smiled coldly. You know too much. Aisha's father looked around the room. I'll go to the police. The video suddenly ended. The next file appeared automatically. It was a newspaper article from 3 years earlier. Construction worker dies in tragic accident. The victim's name, Ahmed Rahman, Aisha's father. Her eyes filled with tears. It wasn't an accident. Harris lowered his head. They murdered him. A new enemy. At that same moment, inside Malik Industries headquarters, Ryan slammed his fist onto the table. She has the drive. Victor looked nervous. If those files reached the media, we're finished. Ethan asked, What about Harris? Ryan smiled. He won't be a problem much longer. Saeed remained silent. Then he spoke. I know who she is. The room became quiet. Emily Carter doesn't exist. Ryan frowned. Then who is she? Saeed looked directly at him. Her real name is Aisha Ahmed. Ryan's face turned pale. The girl from that night? Saeed nodded. We didn't stop her. When we had the chance. The final decision. Back at the safe house, Aisha wiped the tears from her face. Her father's death had never been an accident. He had been murdered because he refused to become part of Project Raven. Now she understood everything. This wasn't only about revenge anymore. It was about justice. She looked at Harris with determination. I'm done hiding. Harris nodded. Then we do this the right way. Aisha picked up the hard drive. The truth belongs to everyone. Outside the safe house, a black SUV slowly stopped across the street. Inside, Saeed watched the building through binoculars. He whispered, The final game begins tonight. Justice wins. The black SUV remained parked across the street. Inside, Saeed Rahman lowered his binoculars. He knew Aisha was inside the safe house. This time, he wasn't going to let her escape. Ryan's voice came through the radio. Is she there? Yes, Saeed replied. Then finish it. Saeed looked at the building for a long moment, but he didn't answer. For the first time in years, he hesitated. The final plan. Inside the safe house, Detective Michael Harris spread several documents across the table. The evidence is overwhelming, he said. But if we simply release it online, they'll claim it's fake. Aisha nodded. So what do? We expose them publicly. Harris explained the plan. The following evening, Malik Industries was hosting its annual charity gala. The country's biggest business leaders, journalists, judges, and television networks would all be there. Ryan was scheduled to give the opening speech. That would be the perfect moment. If everyone sees the truth at the same time, Harris said, they won't be able to bury it. Aisha smiled. Let's end this. The charity gala. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers. Hundreds of guests applauded as Ryan Malik stepped onto the stage. He adjusted his tie and smiled confidently. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before he could continue, the lights suddenly went out. The giant screen behind him turned on by itself. A video began to play. It showed secret meetings, illegal money transfers, bribes, recorded conversations, and finally, the video revealing the murder conspiracy against Aisha's father. The ballroom fell silent. Journalists immediately began recording everything. People stared at Ryan, Victor, Ethan, and Saeed in disbelief. Ryan shouted, Turn it off! But it was too late. Every television camera in the room had already captured the evidence. The last confrontation. Ryan pulled out a pistol and grabbed Aisha, who had stepped onto the stage. You ruined everything. He pointed the gun at her. No one leaves here alive. The guests screamed and ran for cover. Then, a single gunshot echoed through the hall. Ryan dropped the weapon. He looked at his shoulder in shock. Detective Harris stood nearby with his service pistol. Drop it! Harris shouted. Ryan collapsed as police officers rushed in from every entrance. Victor tried to escape through the kitchen. He was arrested. Ethan ran toward the parking garage. He was caught by waiting officers. Saeed stood perfectly still. He looked at Aisha. You never gave up. Aisha replied calmly. No. I only waited for the right moment. Without resisting, Saeed slowly held out his hands. The officers placed handcuffs on him. Justice. Over the following months, the investigation into Project Raven became the largest corruption case in the country's history. Dozens of politicians, businessmen, and officials were arrested. Malik Industries was shut down. The stolen money was recovered. Ryan, Victor, Ethan, and Zaid were all sentenced to long prison terms. Detective Michael Harris was honored for his courage after exposing the conspiracy despite enormous pressure. A new beginning. 1 year later, Aisha stood in front of a newly opened center called the Hope Foundation. The organization provided legal support, self-defense training, and counseling for women who had survived violence. Her mother smiled proudly. Hamza, now older and more confident, hugged his sister. "You kept your promise, Appa." Aisha looked up at the clear blue sky. She remembered her father's words. Strength is not about never falling. It's about standing up every time life knocks you down. She smiled. For the first time in years, she felt at peace, because this had never been just a story of revenge. It had become a story of courage, truth, and justice. The end.